in simple terms, how does it actually function, this debate tool? Right. And and the idea is that so Ray Dalio has this thing, right? You guys all, I think, know who Ray Dalio is at this point. Famous hedge fund investor, very, very smart guy, manages, I think, the biggest hedge fund in the world at one point in time. But basically, he has this saying where he wants to get people to argue about things all the time. Like that's what his whole company's about. Like the entire thing of Bridgewater is like everyone's just trying to be disagreeable, right? They're trying to like, you have an opinion, I have a different opinion, let's argue over it. And he like actively encourages that and built a whole company around that idea. Right. And the reason why is because when you get more people to disagree on something, then you're more likely to get at the actual truth. Right. Makes sense. So what he did was he actually got a cancer scare a couple of years back where a doctor said, you have cancer, we need to operate on you. It's like this big procedure you're going to go under, and it's like potentially life-threatening surgery, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, okay, that's obviously scary. But what he did was he got three different doctors. Okay. He asked all three doctors to evaluate the situation, right? And then whenever they disagreed on something, he got them to basically debate with each other about the topic, right? And when they went about doing that, they basically got to the conclusion that he doesn't actually have cancer and he doesn't actually need to have this surgery. He was able to do something a lot simpler and, potentially save his life, right? So, so Ray Dalio is all about that kind of stuff, and I think it makes a lot of sense in a hedge fund environment, right? So, I think if we were to build this kind of debate tool like this, if it's built correctly, it could actually potentially be a much better way of finding truth, right? So it's like, should I, for example, let's say invest in Palantir, right? Okay, the bull case is, it's great company, it's growing fast, all kind of stuff. The bear case is the valuations, and they have them go back and forth and argue with each other and figure out, should I buy the investment? And if so, how should I buy it? Right? Which maybe could be the trader that actually figures out like how to actually place the trade. Right. But I think this mechanism in general of like arguing over this sort of thing, I think makes a lot of sense. I think this is a very powerful thing, deceptively powerful for investing. Just having two AIs argue with each other about a topic. So that's kind of like that's what stands out to me. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, because it's always good to see both perspective, the bear and the bull side of
Right.
any kind of purchase you want
Yeah.
to make. I
Yeah,
think
Right.
it's
yeah,
good.
I really like the idea, but I actually think that what might even be better is what if we did it with uh different AIs,
Yeah.
like um
Like
I've
Gemini
actually been
versus
I
OpenAI.
think I mentioned I was using DeepSeek and I'm using the free version, but what I understand is it's the new version is like really good and also it's like way cheaper. So,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, uh, yeah, but I mean, I still, yeah, each different AI is going to be trained slightly differently, so they would probably have different perspectives. So I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually how I made my debate tool.
Oh,
It's Claude Code is the one that's actually using it, right? But then when it sends off to a debate, it's Gemini versus OpenAI, and they argue with each other, and then it comes back to Claude. So you basically have three different AIs doing this,
mm.
right? That's the way that I architected on my computer, right? We could do the same sort of thing with this agent. I think that's definitely possible. You know? I think that'd be cool for sure. Yeah. So not only are you having your AI argue, but you're also having different types of LLMs argue with each other, which they have different perspectives on, different types of training data. I agree with that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. What else do you guys think? Would you guys want to work on something like this? Or if we do, how exactly would you want to do it? Or would you guys want to change anything about it?
Yeah, I definitely want to work on it. I'm curious, uh, like which securities do they buy? Do they buy like a few of them? One, how often do they sell? I think this is something that we can actually integrate with LumiBot, and then let Claude figure out which stocks to buy. I guess we can just play around it ourselves to figure out which securities to buy.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think about this is, this library is pretty cool. It's gotten very popular. So clearly there's a strong demand for this. And maybe it's actually, doing some good trades and making some good decisions. Um, but I think if we did this in LumiBot, we would be able to do it significantly better, right? Because first of all, this is just one framework that they have. They have this one specific flow. We can make it so that you could change yours, right? So if you wanted to have whatever, right? You want it to argue in some different way, or you want to trade specific things or whatever, you can make all of that. That's all very customizable, right? You could change the flow. You could have it, I think it's a pretty good flow. I can't think of like what other types of flows right now, but you could definitely change this up and have different inputs or have it argue in different ways or have the trader work in different ways. Like you could really make this a lot more flexible. And then we can also back test it, which this thing cannot do, right? So I think t basically taking this and putting it into LumiBot, I think would be really cool, right? Because then now we can do everything that they're doing, and this is really, to me sounds like a really good idea, and I think a lot of people agree. But what if you added back testing to this? What if you allowed this to trade with all the different brokers that we can connect to, right? What if you can have all the different data sources that we already have, right? This we could go 10 times. We could leapfrog this thing basically, right? That's what I'm thinking, right? So, so this is the debate tool. Okay, so debate MCP. If you guys want to see it, I wasn't even able to search it, so I bet you we don't have any GitHub stars on here yet. Let's see. One. Oh, we have 1 star. Cool. I wonder who started. Um, that's actually interesting. I got a GitHub star on this. That's pretty cool. But okay, so this is how it works, right? So there's 4 different tools. Okay. So first thing, this is my debate tool, but the first thing it does is reframe, right? So it's sort of like I'm stuck, change the angle, right? So you feed it a stuck situation, it runs the problem through 5 to 6 thinking operators. So it's like invert the incentives is one thing that it does, flip the customer, dissolve the problem, swap the constraint, and a few other things like that, and then hands that back to Claude, right? So that's the first thing it does, is try to reframe the problem, okay? And then it tries to do divergent thinking, right? So give me options, not an answer, right? So it generates 20 different ideas in 3 ways. So 5 obvious, 10 adjacent, and then 5 wild ideas, right? And then it picks 3 to 5 non-obvious ones and proposes 72-hour tests for each. Use when you want a menu, not a verdict, right? So reframe it, diverge, and then it gets a debate, right? So it's the adversarial one. So this is the steelman and skeptic part. Right, so GDP, so OpenAI, plays the skeptic. So it attacks your current leaning, hunts for what could go wrong and what you're missing. Then Gemini plays the steelman. So what it does is it builds the strongest possible case for the decision, right? So they're basically one is against, the other one's for, right? And they cross-examine each other anonymously. Neither knows which model the other is. Google search grounds the claims with real evidence. A verification round researches anything either side flagged as unverified, and then Claude synthesizes a transcript at the end, right? And then we have like a think function that does all 3 of those, right? So reframe, diverge, and then debate, right? And I think if we did something like this for stock trading, it would be quite powerful, right? These guys have a debate thing here, bullish and bearish, but I think we go way beyond what they have, right? Like you guys are saying, using different types of AIs and we could do all this different kind of thing like reframe, diverge, debate. I think this could be quite powerful for a trading bot. Okay, let's see what this came back here. So to answer your questions, Mark, trading agents is not directly integrated with Bloomberg, Reuters, Reddit, FinHub, or EOD in the current code. The diagram is much more ambitious than the actual implementation. Ah, interesting. Okay, so market OHLV, Y Finance, Alpha Vantage. Okay, technical indicators, Y Finance plus stock stats, Alpha Vantage, calculates indicators from downloading whatever. Fundamentals gets it from Yahoo Finance again and Alpha Vantage. Y Finance gives statements. Alpha Vantage gives overview, balance sheet, cash flow, income statement. Okay. Then news, they use Y Finance for news. That's actually kind of interesting. I would not choose that personally. And then insider transactions, Y Finance for insider transactions. That's interesting. And social sentiment, not real Reddit or X integration. Their social analyst only gets the same get news tool and asks the LM to infer sentiment. So it's actually kind of underwhelming what they have. Like we could do this so much better than what they're doing. Okay, Bloomberg and Reuters, they're not getting Bloomberg or Reuters directly. There is no Bloomberg API code, no Refinitiv Reuters API code, and no credentials for those systems. My read is that the diagram is illustrative, or they may sometimes receive articles whose publisher source is Bloomberg or Reuters through another aggregator. But that is not the same as having Bloomberg Terminal, B-Pipe, or Refinitiv News access. Okay. Yeah, Bloomberg's actual data products are enterprise feeds like B-Pipe. FinHub is not implemented. EOD, HD is not implemented. So it's actually kind of a little bit of a fugazi here. So, but I mean, they're not doing it, but we can, right? Um, we already have news set up with Alpaca. We could easily get fundamentals through Y Finance, right? So we already have market data, we already have news data, we can get fundamental data, and then social media would be another really interesting one to add. I think Reddit's actually pretty easy to set up. So if we want to use Reddit, that would be a pretty straightforward one to implement. Although you wouldn't really be able to back test with Reddit, right? Because you wouldn't have like the historical feed. And I think that'd be very difficult to do with pretty much any of these social networks. So this is the only one I think is quite difficult to do with backtesting, but the rest of them, we have news that's backtestable, we have market data that's backtestable, we can get fundamentals that's pretty easy to add in. I think just the social media is the only one that's kind of difficult. And then we could build out this discussion part about how it like does the arguing and whatever, and then we already have the trader and all that. I don't think these guys, yeah, trading agents is not a real backtesting engine. It can run analysis as of historical trade date, and some tools, Dreamy says simulated exchange, but the code inspector only logs state and extracts the final rating. There's no broker connection at all. So we could basically make trading agents back testable with better data and actually allow it to connect to brokers and start trading. That's pretty damn cool, right? So what do you guys think? So before we jump into this, what do you guys think about the entire idea and like how would you guys want to approach this if this is something that you think is a good idea? I think it's a very good idea personally. Just the fact that this thing has 60,000 GitHub stars over such a short time period, almost 70,000 GitHub stars, tells me that there's clearly a lot of demand for this, right? This is definitely something that a lot of people want.
Oh, so that plot is the number of stars they've gotten?
Yeah, this is our GitHub stars.
Oh, okay. Because when before I thought that was a P&L.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh no, 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 no,
No, because you zoom by it so fast. I was like, oh, I want to see what that is.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
no, it's GitHub stars.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, so from I mean, do they have
So
any like performance data or how? Right? I mean,
that's a good question.
Yeah, how are they doing it? That's the question I want to see. Like, what are they using to do this, see post perspective from an AI agent?
So which perspective?
To see which perspective, to see the bull side or the uh um
Oh, how are they doing the
person.
debate part?
Yeah, how they do in the debate.
That's a good question. So, how exactly does this debate part work with them? The bullish versus bearish. How exactly are they doing the debate? And then while you're at it, you can check out our debate MCP that I created. You can read up a little bit about how it works. I'll give you a blurb on it too. I'm wondering whether, like, how theirs works, and then maybe we could implement this debate tool that I've already made, and we can add it to this. And I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to do to have like a debate MCP or something like that. We got to talk about architecture, but something along those lines. This is my debate tool. Read up on this, please. And then how does theirs work? Okay, we go with that. All right. Yeah, so it's much simpler than an MCP. Is role prompted turn taking inside Landgraph state. That's the other thing. These guys are using Landgraph, which I also think is a very bad decision. No independent web-grounded verification, no anonymized model versus model design, and usually only one bull bear round by default. So, like, they're not really doing anything that fancy here. Like, we could really smoke them. Like, ours could be so much more powerful than theirs.
Yeah, I agree. What is Langgraph?
Landgraph is a crappy tool, in my opinion.
I never
But
heard of it though.
it's how we used to build AI agents, right? So it
Hmm.
allows like basically it's like a flow chart of like how an agent should respond to things, right? So you can like,
Oh,
think a customer service agent, right? Like you could have it basically, okay, ask for the name first. That's the first node. And then um, if they give the name, then you go down a different path. If they didn't give a name, they go down a different path. It's like all these like it's like a graph of like how the conversation should be structured, right? Which is, the way that we used to build AI, right? That's how we used to do it. But now it makes a lot more sense to just have an agent sitting in the middle and give it a bunch of tools, right? And just allow it to pick its own flow, right? So I'm not crazy about this whole idea of like LangChain or LangGraph, but we could do something similar with our flow, just like in code, right? So you could like basically have one agent do this decision, then another one, da da da, right? We could do all that kind of stuff. Does that answer your question?
yeah, yeah. It's just that I never heard of it before.
Oh, here's our GitHub stars. Wow, ours started to take off as well. Look at that.
Hmm.
Big inflection point here. I think this
Oh,
is when we started adding in the AI stuff into LumiBot. I think that's when it started to take off. Or wait, actually, no, wait. It's comparing us, compare the two. Oh, we don't actually have anything for LumiBot. LumiBot. Wealth. Lumi Wealth slash LumiBot. There we go. This is ours. This is our GitHub chart. Yeah. Look, we actually hit an inflection point recently. So this is when we started releasing all these AI tools. People have been actually using LumiBot a lot more, which I think is pretty damn cool. And then if we introduce something like this, then LumiBot is going to become a heck of a lot more useful.
yeah.
Yeah. It's actually crazy how fast this has gone up. Like more recently, like we're really hitting an inflection point with LumiBot.